嗯，亲爱的听众朋友们，晚上好，欢迎收听西雅图中文电台2020，美国总统大选的特别节目。今天我们非常有幸的邀请到美国国会议员第一选区的候选人杰弗瑞比勒。Good evening, our audience. Welcome to the Chinese Radio Theater 2020 election special program. Tonight, we are very honored to have the opportunity to interview with the candidate of House Representative District 1, Jeffrey Beeler. Welcome, Jeffrey.
你好.
Jeffrey. Let me briefly introduce Jeffrey. Jeffrey Beeler is a proud husband, father, and the founder of a small window cleaning business in his hometown, Southam, in Washington. He has over 11 years of experience as the city council member of Southam City. Now he is running for the House Representative in Congressional District Number 1. We're very honored to have you.
Thank you for inviting me to have a conversation.
Sure. So my first question is, you are a small business owner, and can you share with us about your story of success in running your business?
Absolutely. You know, and that's one of the things that we are very proud of here in America as individuals. We're allowed to, open up our own companies, do what we want to do, succeed, make money in a fashion that we are, wanting to do, whether it's a small business or people who want to take it to larger businesses. So my history, my story is this. I started college and I didn't want to have debt coming out of college. So I was working a job, was introduced to window cleaning. I was 19 years old. And that's how I started my company. It was just kind of somebody showed me some, ideas how to handle it. And it was one of those where it was supposed to be just a supplement for a short time, maybe a couple of years. And, as I progressed through that and enjoyed what I did, and I wasn't enjoying school, but, that's a different story. I also realized that I had the freedom, I had the flexibility, and it just gave the opportunity to me for, being able to expand. And so, after a couple of years of doing it, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna launch into this. I'm gonna really make this into a business where it could, help me raise my family and provide for the needs that I wanted. And that's the great thing here about America. If you really want to do those things, that's the opportunity it provides. So, 32 years later, I had no clue when I first started it that that's what I would be doing. But it's been a successful business. I've raised 3 children. I've been married for 30 years. And, this is one of those things that I have completely enjoyed, that opportunity. So.
Wonderful. You have been a city council member of the city of Southam, and that's good job. And what's your biggest accomplishment during your 11 years tenure as the city council member?
Absolutely. I moved my family out to Sultan back in the year 2000. And originally, it was one of those, it was going to be a stepping stone. And as my children grew and created relationships with the other kids, and we created relationships with other families, we really began to be intertwined in the community. And that's about 4 or 5 years in, I started to actually start listening to what was happening in the community. And then we hit the recession in 2007 and 8. And in the city of Sultan, we had started having economic problems, and the budget was way out of whack. And so they reached out to community members, and I raised my hand and I said, sure, I would love to come out and help the city, go through its budget and come up with ideas of how we can get through this recession. I became the chair of that committee, and we gave the city some recommendations. They took them and they morphed the budget where they didn't have to lay off, they didn't have to raise taxes, and were able to continue to have the services that they had before. So just by kind of using the idea of there's always fluff in a budget, you just have to find those, you trim those edges, as they say. Shortly after that, a position on the city council was open, and so I applied for the appointment. And in 2009, I was appointed to the city council. And the things that were important from my perspective, and what I heard the community say too, was we shouldn't have to be in this position, in the middle of a recession where a city is struggling. So with teamwork on the city council, we put together policies that created reserve funds, that created efficiencies within the city. Our city is a little bit different than a lot of cities in that we run not only the government services of the city, but we also running water district, we run a sewer district, and currently we're running a garbage district, all within the city constraints of a budget. And we took those ideas and those policies and implemented those over the last 10 years, knowing that sometime down the road, there was going to be another recession. It's just one of those cyclical things that happens. Some are worse than others. We didn't realize it would be a pandemic. Well, because of those policies, because of those strengths that we created in the budget, in the middle of this pandemic, when other cities are struggling, when other states are running $8 billion deficits, our city is in one of the best situations financially than it has ever been. And so I'm proud to say that was that planning and that policy making that created a strong city that I am most proud of. And I'm proud of the fact that we were able to get the other council members behind it. It was a teamwork. And that was really what is the main focus here, is creating teamworks in a government so that you can get things accomplished for the better of in this case, the city. And hopefully, I'll go back to Washington, D.C. and we'll do it for the nation.
Good job. How can you make the U.S. House of Representatives a better place if you are elected as the congressman of District 1?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And what we have seen back in Washington, D.C., and it's really been kind of emphasized in this past, 8-9 months with the pandemic, but it's been going on for decades. We have two parties in control. And unfortunately, in those two parties, you have a far left side and a far right side that are controlling the narrative of our politics. And because those are the polar opposites of each other, they can't get along. You hear constantly, well, the Democrats are passing this bill that none of the Republicans are on. And the Republicans are passing a bill that none of the Democrats are supporting. To me, there's a challenge. There's a reason behind that. It's because those relationships have not been built. And again, I go back to that teamwork idea, which is you have to bring people together. Everybody has different ideas. They all have their different perceptions, and they have all their different reasons for wanting to accomplish what it is they want. It's bringing those people together, finding that common ground, and creating those ideas that will get us through the major issues that are in front of us, like Social Security running out of money in 2035, like an immigration system that's been broken since I was, a little kid, since healthcare has been a debacle for the last 10 years. Those are the types of things that we're so dynamically different on that they're not even sitting down and having discussions. And we're talking about right now a stimulus bill. Again, the Democrats have created something. They say, well, we did this way back in May. Well, yes, but you created a bill that has no interest on the Republican side. And that's what we're missing in Congress, is those people to go back there and say, enough. We need to sit down together and work things out. Find that common ground. They're not finding common ground. They're back there just arguing and pointing fingers. If you look at my sign in the back, it says results, not excuses. There's a reason for that. I'm a business guy. I've never allowed excuses to get in the way. It's all about results. And results means you have to work together to become a team, regardless of whether you have opposing views. In fact, it's one of the things I'm proud of when I talk to constituents out there, or even people that I've done business with for the last 25 years. They say, Jeffrey, you have the ability to listen to an opposing side and not condemn them for that, not bring them down, not be negative, but actually listen to them. And listening is one of the important keys. I was told by my mom, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's because you need to listen more than you need to talk. And I think that's what's missing back in Washington, D.C. We have too many talkers and not enough listeners.
Nice. So how important is it that you win this election to be the House representative?
You know, this is vital that we do that. Number one, the current representative, she's a 4-term incumbent, and initially she started off like many do. They go to Congress in their first couple of terms and they have great ideas and they're independent of their party to some degree. But after they're there for long enough, they stop. It's like they don't want to push back anymore. They just want to go along with the flow, go back to DC, do their job, and get the paycheck at the end. Well, that's not what it should be about. It should be going after the fact that there is a district here that you represent. And I've made a promise to everybody that I've talked to, regardless of their point of view, it's my job to represent them. And I think we're missing that right now. We're missing that representation of the district. We have representation of the party. We have representation of the lobbyists. We have representations of corporations that go back there and spend, hundreds, if not millions of dollars trying to persuade, Congress people to do things that were best interest for the business. This is about representation of the people, not companies, not lobbyists. So that's one of the more important things I think that I could take back to Washington, D.C. And the reason why, it's important that I win. Number two, we need to bring back law and order to this country. I watch as businesses are being destroyed down in downtown Seattle. And, this ability to just say, well, they should be able to do what they want because they're just expressing themselves. Or the latest we've heard now is the council down there in Seattle is talking about, well, if you're poor, if you're mentally ill, or if you're drug addicted, you can get away with those crimes because you're in a situation that you just can't control. We have laws in place for a reason. It creates structure in society. And that structure is what is the foundation of how we run our cities and our country. If you don't have law and order, you don't have structure, and you have lawlessness, and you have anarchy. And you have seen what anarchy does to businesses, to cities. And I live up here in Snohomish County, where we were pushing back hard against that invasion of that lawlessness. We're no longer defunding police up here. We're defending the police. That's important. The police provide that safety line between us and those who want to do us harm. So that's another reason. And number three, I'm not out there to say we just are going to have a narrative of destroying this president. And that's what we've had for the last 4 years. This narrative of, I don't like you, so I'm going to take you down. Well, I was not appreciative of the previous president, but he was still my president. I didn't like his ideas, but he was still a good man. That does not mean I'm going to take him down. I just wanted to not have him reelected. Well, when he was reelected, I said, you're still my president. And it's this ability to say, I understand and go with it versus this whole pushback and wanting to destroy this nation that I don't understand. That's another good reason why I need to be elected to this position.
Great. What's your biggest advantage over your opponent in this election?
Biggest advantage. I'm a working man. I'm in the trenches just like many, many Americans, which is a total opposite of who we have there now. We have someone in office in power who is a multi-millionaire. She is the 10th wealthiest person in Congress. And I feel she's now disconnected from what it means to pay the bills. When she wants to give back these 2017 tax cuts that we got as Americans, $2,000+ into everybody's pocket. To her, $2,000 probably isn't that much money. So she thinks it's not a big deal. But to the working people, to the men in the trenches, to the people that are small business owners, $2,000 goes a long ways. Those are the types of things that I can take back to DC. I'm a small business owner. She's been working for large corporations like Microsoft. She's been handed, millions upon millions in her budgets. She's never understood what it means to start a business from the ground with, $0 in the bank and finally put that $1 of profit on the wall that you see so often with many business owners. that $1 bill is like a prized possession to that business owner. She hasn't had to be able to deal with things like that. Even though she's got a business degree, I'm sure she did well in college, but she doesn't have practical, hands-on, small business experience and an understanding what it means to be in the trenches, paying those bills on a regular basis. That's what I think is my biggest advantage. I can take that back to Congress and actually represent the majority of American people and what they're experiencing with the bills that are being passed back in Washington, D.C.
Will you align with yourself with President Trump on most issues as the House representative if he is also re-elected?
So, yes, I'm running as a Republican, and President Trump is a Republican. And if he is reelected, and I cross my fingers that he is, things are looking great, I believe. But my job is not to be a Republican, it's to be a representative of District 1 first. So every idea that comes across my desk must be beneficial to my district, first of all, before I sign my name on that, document. Now, I'm going to say the majority of things that, I represent and the ideas that I represent are very similar and in line to what, President Trump has been, pushing for, which is economic prosperity, getting people back to work, deregulation, let's fixing this healthcare. Those are the types of things that we are after that are similar. And I will definitely be behind those ideas as long as they are for good or good for the District 1. So primarily, that's my job. I'm a representative of District 1. That's what I'll do first. It probably will align a lot with what he's doing because we have similar beliefs and interests. But ultimately, I'm a representative and that's my job.
Wonderful. You are a proud husband and the father of 3 adult children. Can you share with our audience about your family value?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I grew up in a Christian household, and so I've been a Christian, all of my life. I married my high school sweetheart, and so we've known each other for, over 35 years now. And together, we are we have that Christian values in us, and we raised our children in church and under the Christian guidelines. And so the values and the morals that we have, come from the Bible. And so we've instilled in those things into our kids. We've instilled and had those things. In fact, I was just at a service last night, where the pastors were praying amongst a lot of the candidates. And so those are the types of values that we have that kind of guide and focus me. I was also a Boy Scout, where you're taught, the morals. You've got the concept of environmental protection. I was going to study to be a meteorologist, which is all about the environment and weather. These are important things to me. We're always made out as Republicans to, we want dirty air and dirty water. It's like, I don't know where they got that from, because I certainly love going out and, hiking in the forests and enjoying the lakes, fishing, and just being out in nature, because that's important, not only to your mental state, getting away, but also just for the environment, for Mother Earth. And those values are important that we make sure we hold on to, that moral value of right and wrong. So those are the types of things that I will be taking back to DC, that, the family, Christian background, moral guidance. Wonderful.
So, can you say something to the voters in the Chinese community?
Yeah, we are in the last, few days before the election. And this is, as you hear over and over again, probably one of the most important elections that we have. This is an election that's going to determine whether or not we elect people to go back to protect the freedoms and opportunity that America gives to people. The ability to, start your own business and succeed. The ability to, excel at whatever rate you want, to educate yourself, to become a better person, and be monetarily given back what it is that you want to be successful with. As you achieve, you get rewarded. That's what America's about. It's that free enterprise, that ability to have that opportunity. And not only that, the freedom of speech, I feel, is being oppressed here. These are the types of things that I believe that the Chinese community could really, latch on to. We need to make sure we have and keep those things close to us. And law and order, again, important things. Without that law and order, our businesses are destroyed, taxes are raised. These are the things that we're trying to protect, is, the ability for us to just have success. And so that's what I want to take back. I want to, represent the Chinese community, just like when I represent all of the American communities, is that ability to have that opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And it's our honor to have Jeffrey Beeler in our air and in our interview. And we wish you best luck and win the election.
Get out, vote, return that ballot.
Thank you.